feelings are the quickest way to connect to our authentic self. There's a good awareness, I think, in the mainstream about the need for emotional intelligence. We're hearing that, we've been hearing that for probably the last couple of decades, right? That it improves our success in life, our relationships, and just our overall fulfillment in life when we are emotionally aware, when we're emotionally agile. And there's also a rising interest in the intuitive. So that's really nice to see that there's more sort of like out of the closet talk about tapping into this higher source of wisdom and knowledge, and really our inner compass is what our intuition is. And I've been studying both of these things for the last 10 years, quite extensively. And I wanted to find a way to present them and teach them to people that didn't require 10 years and hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars to learn and to integrate this stuff. So I created a process that pairs emotional intelligence with intuitive development. And we do this in a step-by-step process that involves cards, and you have all of those with you today called Connect Decks. And what it does is just breaks down the steps. So it scaffolds emotional awareness and intuitive knowing. So if you think about your practice, most of you are helping professionals here, and even just in your life in general with family or friends. How many times have you sat across from someone and listened, probably very empathetically, to them recount a story or a struggle in detail, in detail, lots of detail. Maybe they got into some blaming or judging someone else for this problem. Maybe they got into blaming or judging themselves and just got caught in that cycle of self-loathing and shame. Well, what Connect Decks do is help us shift our energy really quickly into a more conscious awareness. Really, that's what it is. That's why I call them consciousness cards. So it shifts us out of blame, out of judgment, out of that victim mentality, and into discernment and connection and consciousness. And these skills are essential, I believe, in the recovery process, and also just essential for life, for all of us. And the first part of this process is based in what's called nonviolent communication. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with Marshall Rosenberg and his work. And it can basically be boiled down to two questions. How do I feel? And what do I need? What are the needs that are lying just beneath the surface of my feelings? And how do I name and expand my vocabulary around those feelings so that I can precisely describe what it is I'm feeling, so I have information that I can act on? Many of us didn't get this training, right? Like, even if we are trained in different modalities, we didn't get this very basic training. Very few of us probably had role models that role model to us healthy emotional connection, emotional communication, and understanding of what was actually going on. And forget teaching us, a lot of us weren't even asked how we felt as children, what we needed, right? That was not present, and definitely for a lot of our clients, that was not the case. They went through their entire life without anybody just doing an inquiry and asking them to be the expert on their own body, their own emotional state. And so what we're going to do today is just systematically go through this process, and you're going to experience what it's like to just sit in those feelings for a little bit. And we do this at a time where we're not in crisis. Hopefully nobody's in crisis right now, right? Just put up your hand if you are, Lisa will help you. But no, we're not in crisis, right? And so that's when we present this information in a safe space, a way to help us process, and we can do this for ourselves, and we can do this in our practices and be that safe haven, that safe presence for others. And we know this is especially important with those who have experienced trauma, right? Because as Lisa mentioned, trauma disconnects disconnects us from the body, it disconnects us from emotions, or we're over expressing emotions. We're either numbing, we're over expressing, avoiding. And so it creates this safe sanctuary for us to express how we feel and process something in a really tangible way, in a really kinesthetic way, because we're holding cards. So Connect decks are really meant to connect that disconnection. And I designed them to have just a very simple impact in providing experiences in connection that we will remember again. And that, that felt sense, the body, the mind, feeling that relief that comes from being validated, from being heard. And so what does connection feel like? We're gonna see. But I think it's important to notice first what disconnection feels like, because it's equally as important to be conscious of that. So what does disconnection feel like? It feels like overwhelm. It feels like panic. It feels like comparing ourselves to others, or worrying more about what others think or feel, and not focusing on ourselves. And so we lose connection with our inner wisdom that way, because as we're going to see, feelings are the pathway to intuitive knowing. And so our aim today, this morning, is connection. And that's what I predict each one of you will have an experience in today.